Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of February for the Sun or the Ascendant. There's a few strands threaded through this week. One of them applies to last week. If you recall, Venus and Mars in your sign reached a peak of their conjunction on the 22nd. If you're a creative water bearer, that was certainly a combination that could make you very dynamic, Mars, but also very creative, Venus, with an individual idea, the first house, or demonstrating your flair, talent or artistry, or perhaps just actually feeling really good about your identity. But later on last week, Venus forged a square with Jupiter. Jupiter, like your modern ruler Uranus in your fourth solar house, very much to do with how you're feeling about things. But Jupiter can be quite a buoyant energy, and that link with Venus may have made you feel pretty optimistic about something to do with your home, family, or personal situation. Now this week, Mars is squaring up to Jupiter, and that reaches its peak on Tuesday. But this is a different energy. Mars is very impatient, of course, particularly in the first house, and Jupiter in the fourth house is asking us to, yes, think on the bright side, but also not get carried away. There may be something that you're inclined or attracted to do, perhaps to do with where you live, that can see you really full of determination, but also self-belief that what you're trying to achieve will be successful. So in itself, that can be really, really good. Where the glitch can come is if you rush it, because Mars in the first house is not so much about analysing things. You're an air sign, so you do have a talent for that. It's more about taking action. And Jupiter in the fourth house can, or Jupiter in any sign, can almost kid us that everything will turn out. So if there is something that you find yourself being pulled towards, or rushing towards, do try to slow things down. Now the other trend that's unfolding this week, if you think back to the 20th of January, first the Sun, then Pluto on the 21st, then Mercury, then of course Venus and Mars have all been making their way through your sign. But during that whole process, have you started something, initiated something? Because if you have, you could find out by the middle of this week just how the progress is going, because on Wednesday we have a very rare double cazimi in the same day. A cazimi is when the Sun connects with a planet exactly. The first is with Mercury in itself, not a particularly rare event, but Mercury is not at its best in Pisces because Pisces can distort a little bit. Mercury likes clarity. And for you, the second house can be about everyday money, but also your sense of self-worth. But if you have been working on something creative, maybe you can have a conversation or measure how far the progress is going. But Saturn, of course, moved into your second solar house on March the 7th last year. And if there has been a drying up of one previous income source or a tightening up, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. But that doesn't mean to say that you haven't been reinventing an approach, trying something fresh. But what Saturn will do as the Sun applies to it, along with Mercury, is be something of a bellwether. It's going to just help you to gauge what the potential prospects are. So if you're investigating a new way of earning money, a new approach, or you have given yourself some kind of dynamic makeover, you reach the point of realism, really, because that's what Saturn is about. Now, the third thing that happens this week is when we have the quarter moon, which occurs on Sunday in the friendly sign of Sagittarius, but that squares up in a 11-2 square with the Sun in Pisces. 11-2 asks us to be very realistic about resources, not too idealistic. If you are an Aquarius person that really wishes the world was different from how it is, and that's certainly how I am, sometimes the crushing reality of life can be a little bit hard to take. But equally, it could be around your friendship circle. If you've got different values to some people you're involved with, you could become more conscious of these by the end of this week and the start of the week following. So Whether it is to do with your everyday resources, your sense of self-worth, your values, the energy clustered on those two Cazimis at the heart of this week, or it is to do that more creative and potentially exuberant energy coming from Jupiter, but the creative energy from Pluto, Venus and Mars in your own sign. Those are the three big strands this week. Now, if you have started something completely fresh, which is first house energy, it very rarely gives us an instant dividend. So if you are setting out on a new course, it may take some while to really give you the total evidence of a payback. So if you do find that things aren't quite where you'd like them to be, with Saturn's rather serious impact, just double down, and it's very important that you don't lose faith in what you're attempting, particularly if it is different and more innovative. And it may cause a little bit of disruption because you're trying something different. Someone may not be incredibly receptive. Perhaps you're going to encounter someone, the suits, who only see things in terms of balance sheets, and they're not so creative as you. So you may have some kind of testing conversation at the heart of this week, but if you don't immediately get what you want, if you really believe that what you're doing is what you feel is right for you, and it's where you're most invested and you can be passionate about it, keep going. It just may be that the return could be longer down the track, but equally you could get a return this week, or certainly get into a position where a new foundation is shaping up that you can work from in a realistic way. It's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. Also, if you'd like to ascend above this zodiac forecast and embrace the power of more serious astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of your birth date of time, date and place, or date and place, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. You can get a much more intimate understanding of how these have affected your situation, but how you can work with them more effectively going forwards. In my special package of 30% off, you also get your 12 months transit. That's the moving planets in the sky interacting with your totally unique personal blueprint. Please see the link below for more.